it's Abby here, and today I'm going to be sharing 10 tips on how you're going to pass your Nclex exam. These are my personal tips that I learned from my experience. You don't have to necessarily follow them. Everybody's different. We all have our own, learning style, our own study techniques, and that's totally fine. You do you. The reason why I decided to do this video is because I have some friends who are planning to take the Nclex exam, and I just wanted to help them because the thought of Nclex is just very, very crazy and dreadful, and it's very nerve-wracking, and as much as possible I wanted to guide them so they'll know where to start, because the Nclex is just really stressful. I took the Nclex exam on March 2016 and I passed on my first try with only 75 questions, and I self-reviewed. I am not saying this to brag, I just want to motivate you that if I can do it, not the smartest student in class, then so can you. So I don't want to waste your time. I know you still have Nclex exam to prepare for, so let's get started. Tip number 1, set the target date as to when you're going to take the Nclex exam. This is a very, very important tip, because if you don't have the date, you are not actually going to start preparing for your exam. It's the same thing as weddings, right? You can't start booking venues, you can't start making reservations if you don't have the date. And once you see it in your calendar, you actually have a date right there, that will signal your brain that, oh no, I need to start preparing. There's an upcoming exam. So that's it, right? So it's very important that you really have to set the date. And for example, if you're like me, being a foreign graduate, it's so hard to have that definite date because sometimes our ATT takes extra long. We have some paperwork delays. Sometimes we need to take extra classes. So one way to do this is by just setting an estimate date. For example, by the end of this year, early of next year, mid-year, or 6 months from now, 8 months from now. By doing that, you are actually starting to make it official. So set the date, people, okay? Tip number 2, start gathering your study materials. The reason why I want you guys to do this early is because there's like so many books out there, so many Nclex review books, and sometimes you just don't know, really. It gets so overwhelming. You just want to buy 5 books, and it turns out you'll never ever get to read all those 5 books. I have this one and I highly recommend it. It's the Saunders book, and I really like it. It's very, very visually appealing, and it's just, whew, all the information that you need is in here. It's very condensed. So much easier. As you can see here, I still have some highlights. Moving on here, I got nothing. For example, if you find out Saunders is not a good option, then you go find another one. That's totally fine. You don't have to use Saunders because everybody else is recommending this to you. Maybe you don't like colorful stuff, and that's totally fine. By the way, guys, this is not sponsored by Saunders, but I'll accept any sponsorship. And also, I highly recommend this La Charity book, and is really good as well. And I kid you not when I say that some of the questions that I answered here are very, very close to the ones that came out from the exam. And also, even if Saunders provide you with so many questions already, the La Charity one is just much more challenging. If Saunders is mild to moderate when it comes to difficulty, this one is like really difficult. So you have to go get this one. And then also you want some cute cards or some cute pens, some notebooks. So maybe you're not gonna be studying yet, but because you already have them around, when you get in the mood to study, you already have them. You can just grab them and start making your notes and start reviewing. And also, if you keep seeing them in your house and you're not touching them, you're actually gonna feel guilty, and you might actually really start reading them. And also, when I say start gathering your study materials, now is also the time for you to actually decide whether you're gonna go to a review class, or if you're gonna study on your own, or online class. When you decide late, actually, you are going to panic when you're getting closer to your exam. So if you have plenty of time, might as well maximize your time by actually doing your research and really deciding, oh, maybe this one because it's cheaper, or maybe this one because it's closer to my home and it has better reviews. So now is the time to do that. I decided to self-review because I like to learn at my own pace. And if you are that type of person too, feel free to do so, because even if you go to a review class, you still have to supplement it with self-studying. Going to a review class is not really going to guarantee that you're going to pass the Nclex exam. You still have to do a lot of your work on your own. So now is the time to do your research, really decide, or you can also start studying, and if it doesn't work out, you feel like you're still not confident enough because you already have a list, you already done your research, you know where to go. So those are the things that I highly recommend. start, you know, gathering resources. Tip number 3, make a study calendar or a study schedule. So I'm pretty sure you can find a lot of these online, or you can make one your own. Or if you signed up to a review class, they probably will also provide you with one. But the one I use is from Saunders. You can see it here. They will actually provide you with a code to have an access to their online website, where you will actually take an assessment exam. I believe that's 75 or 100 items assessment exam, and that exam, depending on how well you did on that exam, you're gonna get a personalized calendar that will be your calendar, your study calendar. It will, for example, give you first week pharmacology, second week med surg. But the thing is, I use mine as a guide, but I did not, you know, 100% follow it, because sometimes there are days where it will give you so many chapters just in one day, and that's just not how it works for me. So I make sure I study for hours in a day, or a minimum of 2 hours, but not every day. I make sure I take breaks. Even the Saunders calendar has some days wherein you really have to get off from studying, because of course, you're only human and you're already stressed out when you think of Nclex, so you don't want to info dump your brain. For the schedule, I actually didn't, you know, study intensively until maybe 3 weeks prior to exam, but since August of 2015, I actually started answering questions already, and I started to really set my mind that I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna be a USRN, and so that's what I did. Like, I was mentally prepared. Maybe not, you know, I probably don't have all the knowledge. I even didn't finish my Saunders book, but I know I'm just gonna take the exam, and I know I'm gonna ace it. That's just like, I'm being positive. And also, make your study schedule realistic. I know that Nclex is very important to you, and I know you want to get as many information as you can, but you also have to accept the fact that no matter how much you study, even if you study for 16 hours in a day, you're not gonna learn everything. Even the smartest person in the world doesn't know everything, and that's totally fine. Okay, so just be realistic with your study schedule. Make sure it really works for you. Make sure that you still have time, you know, with your family. You still have time to relax, because there's really no point of stressing yourself very much. You're able to finish nursing school for 4 years, so how much more just this one more exam to get you to practice nursing, right? And also, if you're the type of person who likes to listen to music while studying, you can also start making your playlist, study playlist now, just because, you know, sometimes by listening to it, it's gonna get you in the mood, and that will help you a lot. I love to listen to music, but I don't recommend listening to music with lyrics or music that you're familiar with, because instead of studying, you're just gonna be singing along, and that's not a very good idea. Tip number 4. Practice answering questions every day. I can't emphasize this enough. There's an app, I use Nclex Mastery app, to answer questions on my phone. By answering as many questions as you can, you're actually training your brain to not be scared of questions anymore. What's gonna happen is that during your actual Nclex exam, you're just gonna be like, this is another set of exam, and you're not gonna be shaken by the thought of it, because you're already very prepared. And you know how nursing is, you know, very broad. There's so many topics, subtopics. By answering as many random questions as you can during the day, and by reading the rationale, you're actually getting more information than you can imagine, honestly. So that is what I really recommend. Answer questions, and as much as possible, train yourself to not spend more than 1 minute per question, unless, you know, you're actually in your exam. Of course, you have to read the question carefully, read the options carefully. Because of this, you're actually going to train yourself to finish and be more efficient. Also, don't be discouraged if ever your scores from, you know, your exams, if you're, for example, you're practicing and your scores are not really good, don't be discouraged. It's okay, because I wasn't doing very well on the test questions as well when I was practicing, but as you answer more questions, as you read the rationale, you're actually getting more information, and you're really actually learning from your mistake. So keep answering questions every day instead of Facebooking and Instagramming. I also heard about UWorld, which I haven't really actually used, but so many people are talking about it, so maybe that is worth, you know, looking into. Tip number 5. Just as long as you understand how the circulatory system works, how the kidney works, normal function of the kidney, circulation of the heart, just the basics, that's all you have to know. Why? Because when you're gonna take the test, you're gonna see the question, and you're gonna see some options. And in there lies the answer. It's not fill in the blanks. The answer is just right there in front of you. You don't have to memorize everything. Let me repeat, you don't have to memorize, because by memorizing, you're actually stressing your brain. And the moment you forget one thing, when you're sitting there during your Nclex test, you're actually gonna forget everything. So I really, really highly recommend to just, instead of memorizing, to really understand. The only thing that you have to memorize probably are the reversal agents or some of the, you know, normal lab values. But other than that, you have to really understand. Also, one thing, if you're trying to memorize, let's say, normal lab values, sometimes, you know, it varies from book to book. They vary by like 1 point or something. You don't have to worry about that, because if something is elevated, when it comes to Nclex, it's really gonna be very elevated. And if something is low, it's gonna be very, you know, obviously low. So you don't have to worry about that. And also, you need to familiarize with yourself with Erik Erikson's psychosocial development. Those are the things that will help you prioritize. So just study them, know the basics. That's it. You just really have to know the basics. Tip number 5, learn as much as you can about Nclex. You're not just gonna study about OB, pharmacology, med-surg. You also need to study the exam itself. You need to know what to bring, what to expect. Read as much as you can about the Nclex. I remember when I was preparing for the exam, I probably seen all Nclex related video on YouTube, and I remember going to allnurses.com, just reading stories and how people pass Nclex, what it's like. And also make sure your sources are reliable. And also Saunders actually, the first few pages of Saunders, they will actually give you a little bit of a background as to what Nclex is all about, and you need to do that because it's just very important for you to understand. You need to prepare for the battle that you're going to take. You need to know what to bring during your exam date. Just because I've seen so many people bringing some laptops and books, and honestly guys, they don't have time to study on the exam venue anymore. So as much as possible, don't bring anything unnecessary. And also, by reading what to expect, what it's gonna be like, you're actually preparing yourself even more. And the more prepared you are, the more confident you're gonna become. Don't be scared if you're getting a lot of SATA questions. I know those are one of the most difficult questions to answer, but that only means that you're doing very well. That's why the questions are getting more and more challenging. So SATA questions are select all that apply questions, and those are the most difficult question in the Nclex exam. So all those stuff, and anytime also your computer can shut off between minimum of 75 to 265 questions. And also you need to know how much time do you have to answer all those questions. So you need to know that you have 6 hours, just so you can start practicing. You can start answering 265 questions and time yourself. These are really important things, because I've also seen people failing just because they ran out of time. They were not able to answer enough questions. And also, it's very normal that during your actual Nclex exam, there's going to be questions that you just don't have an idea what the answer is. I've had some of those questions, you know, just plain guess something and move on to the next one. Instead of spending so much time on that question, you're missing your chances of answering, you know, other questions. So if you don't know the answer, make a guess. I know it's not good, but just, you know, prioritize, do the best that you can, and then move on. Okay? Tip number 6, surround yourself with positivity and do what makes you feel good. This might sound like a very cheesy tip, but this is true. If you know some people who are just bringing you down, who are very negative, as much as possible, stay away from them. And also, when you're reading some experiences online, make sure that you're reading, you know, positive ones. I'm not saying that the negative ones or the ones that failed, those feelings are irrelevant. They're all very important, but right now it's not the time for you to feel sad, to be anxious more, or to worry more about other people. It's very important for you to actually feel motivated and positive and encouraged. So stay with the people that matters most to you, and those people that are actually helping you emotionally and mentally, because, you know, this is just really important. And also, I've heard from a review, from an audiobook review that I listened to before, that, for example, if you're a smoker, it's okay to smoke the day, you know, on your exam day before you're gonna go sit in your exam. Do what makes you feel good. Do what makes you feel confident, you know, on your exam date. If you're the type of person who can't go on a day without coffee, feel free to drink coffee on your exam date. Don't make any crazy changes in your routine if you know that they're actually just gonna make you more anxious. And do what makes you feel good. If it's a Friday night and you feel like you wanted to take a break, you want to go drink with your friends, feel free to do so. Just make sure you're really being responsible, and moderation is key. Also, if you want to do exercise also helps when you're studying. It, you know, helps with the blood flow to your brain. And also, if you want to do yoga and all those things, feel free to do it. And if you're just very tired from studying, you want to take a break, take a break. You know yourself. All those things would actually add up and really help you pass the Nclex exam. Tip number 7, 2 days or days prior to your exam, drive to the exam venue. I really recommend this one so you'll know where to go. You'll know which elevator to take and all that stuff. And also by seeing the venue and being actually there, it's actually gonna help with your anxiety. So it's always a good idea to go check out how long it's gonna take you to get there. I actually just have to walk because I book a hotel. I have to fly to Manila and then I book a hotel that's like probably less than 5 minutes walk to the venue. But still, even if it's only 5 minutes away, I still went to the venue a day prior to my exam just to know which building or which elevator to take. Those little things will actually help reduce your anxiety. So do that, highly recommend that. Tip number 8, when you're sitting down at your exam, you always remind yourself to not overanalyze. Don't compare the Nclex question situation to what is the situation in your workplace. It's going to be very different. You have to understand, you have to know, always put this in your mind. Nclex wants the safest and the most ideal answer. Even if what you're doing in your workplace is very safe for the patient, but Nclex wants the ideal one. They're really following the books. So you have to always choose the safest one and the most ideal one. Stop comparing and stop overanalyzing. Just read the question, understand the question, and read the options. Don't go thinking of anything else. And also, when you read the options, make sure you read all of the options. Even if you're 100% confident that the first option is the answer, still read the other options, please. Some Nclex questions are very, very tricky and you're only gonna be able to really find the best answer when you read all the options. So never, ever, ever forget to read all the options. Tip number 9, don't be overconfident. It's very, very okay to admit that you don't know something. If you're unsure of something, that's totally fine. By admitting to yourself that you don't know this subject, for example, you're really bad at pharmacology, that will actually force you to study more and know more about it. And also by admitting to your weakness, admitting that you don't know something, it will actually ensure your safety and your patient's safety, and this will actually help you in the long run, not just on the Nclex but also in your actual nursing career. And tip number 10, I can't believe we made it, guys. I feel like I've been talking here for hours. So last tip is don't stress, you got this. You finished 4 years of nursing school. You wouldn't be able to finish 4 years of nursing school if you're not smart. Just do your best, study, sacrifice some of your, pleasure time for studying, some of your hobbies so you can study. There's going to be a few sacrifices, but I guarantee you and I promise you that the moment you see your license number and your name in the Board of Nursing website, it's the best feeling in the world. It's gonna be all worth it. Right now, when I look back, I remember I was super stressed prior to my exam, but as soon as I see my license number, it all went away. I can't even remember how stressed I was. I know I was stressed, but I can't remember what it felt like because it's just all gonna disappear. It's gonna be worth it. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any more questions about Nclex, feel free to send me a DM. I will be leaving my Instagram in the description box below. I will try my best to answer your question. And aim for 75 questions, aim for first try, shoot for the moon. So if you'll miss, you're going to land in the stars. Bye!